purpose of marketing is not to sell. I mean, if you're running an ad campaign, if you're doing a DM outreach, cold email, whatever campaign that you're running, yes, the goal is to sell, obviously, your service. But the true purpose of marketing is to make sales unnecessary. I used to think that sales and marketing are synonymous. I used to think they're the same thing, but the truth is they're not. They're not extension of each other. They are the exact opposite. So what I mean by that, when I say that the purpose of marketing is to make sales unnecessary, is you should market in a way when you know your customers so well, you know exactly what they want, you know exactly what problem they're dealing with, and you understand them in a way that you know how much they're willing to pay for it, that they just want it. At the very least, they express interest in buying your product. Right now, obviously, you have different price ranges. I'm not saying, you know, if you're selling consulting, I'm not saying people will buy $3,000 off your off a landing page if they've never heard about you. But the idea is you know your customers so well and you mimic the sales call through your marketing. So whatever happens on your on a sales call, you do in your marketing. But before we get into that, I want to get into customer research, because customer research, this is the hidden key for great marketing. You know, understanding your customer. You can have a great ad, a great creative copy, funnel, all this stuff. You know, beautiful pages. It won't matter that much if you don't know who you're talking to, right? So basically, I'm looking for three things when I do customer research, and you can deep dive into that topic, and you know there are other dimensions to that. You can also explore other things, but first and foremost, you should understand three things. One, what is your customers or clients' dream outcome? What do they want to achieve, right? If you're a you know, fitness coach, they want a beautiful body, right? You know, if you're talking to men, they want bigger arms and a wider chest, and just they just want to look better and more impressive. Often with or without a shirt. If you're selling advertising, well, what do clients want? They want more leads. They want more clients. They want more qualified prospects on their pipeline, right? So whatever it is that you're selling, you should understand not only what do they want to achieve, but what your customer or client wants to achieve the most. What is the dream outcome? Okay, that's the first thing you should understand. And then on the other end of that, you should understand the problem that prevents them from achieving that goal, right? So imagine 2 points, and your solution is basically the bridge between those 2 points. Your product, your service is the bridge that helps them get from problem to outcome, right? So this is what creates the tension in your marketing when you talk about desired outcome, the desired outcome, and on the other hand, you talk about the problem so well they feel like you know them. And then lastly, you should also research their objections, common questions they have, and also what have they tried before to solve the problem, right? If you understand those three things, that's basically all you need to market your product successfully. Basically, that's all there is to it, because that's what businesses do. They solve problems, right? And if we don't solve problems, then what are we doing? We don't really have a right to exist. So your marketing should also revolve around the problem, your customer's problem. So that's that. Now, how do you actually research? Well, that's very simple. And yes, you can do it with AI, but I would recommend that you do it manually first. So the first thing I would say, record your sales calls. Record your sales calls, and if you're asking the right questions, what's the biggest challenge? What have you tried in the past? People will tell you, prospects will tell you what the problem is, and what have you tried before, and what frustrates them. So that's research method number one. Now, obviously, you need leads, and you need to get on calls with those people, but that's the best way to understand your customer, right? Get in calls with them, and that's also called a sales call. But get on calls with them and try to understand what they need help with. And then second best method is go on Reddit, right? So run a Google search for relevant Reddit discussions, and pay attention to the problems that your audience talks about. What are they dealing with? Again, if we talk about the fitness coach, well, men who try build muscle, well, they don't know what exercise to do exactly, in what order. They're not sure if they need to train 3 times a week or 5 times a week. And I think that the biggest problem is you just don't know how to eat well, because exercising is relatively simple. So for our example, I would research things around those pain points, right? So you want to understand the problem they have around their eating habits, why they're not growing. Everything they mention on this Reddit forum basically applies, right? And you should also note, just a quick note, that people buy their way out of problems. So that's why we focus on these problems, and that's why they're so important, right? So if you open Reddit Fitness, you'll find all the problems your target audience deals with. If you open Reddit Consulting, you find all the problems. Same thing for any other niche there. Just type in your niche plus Reddit and on Google, and you'll find it. One other method is Facebook groups. Just join different Facebook groups, see what people ask about, and then you will understand the hot topics and the hot problems, the most painful problems your audience is dealing with. I don't remember the last time I've been in the fitness Facebook group. What's probably going on in there in those type of group, for example, is just questions on what to eat, how to train, why am I not growing, how I don't have the time to train 3 times a week and then 1 hour every day. So 1 hour per exercise. So that's the level of problem that you're looking for. You want to be as specific as you can get with the problem that you help solve, because the better you can articulate the problem your audience experience, then the better your marketing would be, and the more precise clients you will attract, because your message attracts a specific client, and it starts again with the problem. And then you can also use AI. Obviously, use it. I'm not saying don't use it. I would use Claude. That's what I usually use. Sometimes I use GPT as well. But yeah, any decent AI will give you an okay research you can start that will help you understand the niche you're targeting, and your customer, if you don't know them already. So that's the research part. And at the end of this process, you should have a list of all the things we talked about: problems, desired outcomes, and objections, and with common questions. Once you have that, all that's left to do is basically, as I mentioned before, mimic your sales goals in your marketing, right? So once you have all that info, your marketing autocorrects. What do you write in your ads? You write about the problems they're dealing with. what you write on the pages, on your landing pages, same thing, on your website, same thing, problems versus outcomes, and your solution, right? Also, when it comes to qualification, you know how to qualify them better. And ideally, not only when you research, I mean, at a certain point, in addition to all these things, you should also understand how much they're willing to pay for something, to pay for your product, right? So when you look at it like top level, it's problems, solutions, product, and price, right? They should be able to solve their unique problem in your with your specific way, your specific solution, with a price that works for them. And when you do it correctly, they basically pre-qualify themselves and they say, okay, that's interesting. That's what I've been looking for, or I've been looking for something like that. They identify with the problem that you're talking about, and if the price makes sense and your solution looks good and everything is reasonable, then you're in a much better position to sell your product. So that's what I mean when I talk about mimicking sales calls on your marketing. You basically take whatever the entire content of a sales call, problems, objections, questions, your offer, and you communicate it in your marketing. So the purpose of marketing is to make sales unnecessary, or at the very least, almost unnecessary. And when you start thinking like that, everything becomes way easier. Your marketing is more direct, is clearer, and as a result, you're selling more with less. You're putting less effort into your sales calls because people know already what you're all about when they get on a call with you. Especially if you have like an organized Instagram profile and a landing page that demonstrate your testimonials and everything. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that topic: sales versus marketing. See you around.